There we go. We are off to the races. We are heading towards a Bitcoin winter, a deep freeze. It's going to be horrible, cold, life-sucking, bitter, cold, a Bitcoin winter, deep, dark. Although this isn't too dark. This is the bright part of the winter. These are the happy times. Still very cold. Just thinking about it gives me goosebumps. Bitcoin has not bottomed yet. It is far from bottoming. Far. I know there's a lot of pundits out there that are talking about 3,500 as the bottom. We have hit the bottom! Every time it makes a plunge, that's what they proclaim. We have now hit the bottom. When it hit 7,500, we've hit the bottom. When it was 6,500, we hit the bottom. When it was 5,700, we hit the bottom. When it was 4,500, we hit the bottom. When it was 4,200, we hit the bottom. When it hit 3,500, we hit the bottom. The final bottom. The bottom. It was the bottom of the bottom. We've not hit the bottom. There are some CNBC analysts that are saying 85% down from the top. That's enough. We've hit the bottom. I love that logic. Everyone has their own version of analysis, logic, reason. Well, completely lacking of reason, completely lacking of logic as well, but it's their version, so therefore it is new, it is real to them. The bottom. Where is the bottom? First of all, if you call the bottom, it's lucky, let's face it. And, I have been one of those people that have called bottoms. A spectacular call. Did I get recognition for it? No. I called the biggest bottom. The big bottom. I called 666 on the S&P. But not only did I call it, but I called it 5 months in advance. I did a podcast on it. I wrote an article in Seeking Alpha. You can still go back and find it. Still there. Did all the analysis. Right to the dollar. 666. What did it get me? Nothing. If I really believed in all that mumbo jumbo technical analysis, even though it was fun doing it, I would have put my mortgage down on the line. Would have made tons of money. So it's all, it's all speculation. It's all bullshit, to tell you the truth. This calling bottoms. I'd rather not call the bottom. I'd like to say, no, that is not the bottom. Because you'll be right way more often. It's a little tradecraft. Don't call the bottom. Call not the bottom. We are not at the bottom. I can do that like 99 days out of 100 and I will be right. So, just where are we? Well, we're actually creating what I see as a another consolidation, short-term consolidation, but a consolidation nonetheless. We are consolidating, and consolidation after a major move usually points to a continuation of that major move. That's just a historical fact. We are consolidating. We didn't come down, hit a point, struggled with high volume to get beyond that point, and then started to reverse, which would be typical of most reversal, or one type of reversal. There are rounded bottom reversals. We're not anything close to that. There are the V reversals that I just mentioned. We're not anything close to that. No, we're exhibiting a come down, hang out there, try to get up, try to get up again, try to get up again. This sort of consolidation. That is, I think there's about a 75% chance that when you have that kind of pattern, it results in a continuation of the move. That's where we're at. That's the ticket. We are not at a bottom. We are looking for a bottom. No one knows where that will be. Will it be some round magical number like 2,000 or 3,500 or 3,000 or 1,000? What about 957? That's the bottom. I just pulled that right out of my ass. Smells. 957. I proclaim the bottom to Bitcoin is 957. Proclamation. 957. Nah, can't be that. We need a 33 in there. How about the opposite of what the S&P was? 999. It will be like the upside down 666. Yeah. New proclamation. The bottom is 999. Yep. Print it. $9.99. That's it. Let's see who we have online here. Who do we have? Flippo4, Luke, Delta, Digger, Hayseed, how you doing? Crypto, Trucker, GameCuber, Adam, Richard, Alex Crypto TV, and many others. Robert Leonardo, we've got them all. Asdirt. The usual cast of characters. There are lots of other you out there. I guess you're just not willing to share your thoughts. Perhaps you have no thoughts. Perhaps you don't think. Well, there's a virtual oasis in the midst of this white winter tundra. Oh, there's the oasis is gone now. Cold. A Bitcoin winter is coming. So what I mean by a Bitcoin winter is that we're going to come down to some bottom, some semblance of bottom. There will be an ultimate bottom, $9.99. We'll come down there, and then we'll bounce off of it. We'll come down, test it again, maybe drift down a little lower, a little higher. Then we'll find some range, and then somebody will say something stupid or smart, and Bitcoin will rally, then it will fall, and we'll create a range over time, and that range will drift and drift like a big snowdrift. And it will do that for a long time. Long time. Long time. Yep. It's going to do it for a really long time. Maybe years. Yeah, maybe years. People will lose interest. New developments will happen. The Bitcoin ecosystem may wane, sway, grow, shrink. And then maybe someday, somebody will have an epiphany, a new idea. Either that or they'll fool a bunch of people into buying their shit, and that shit will look really cool, there'll be a marketing program behind it of some sort, and maybe a couple of Bitcoin billionaires will back it, start pumping it through the mainstream media, the talking heads, and they'll first it'll start off as a blog and then come up to some local story, then be sold up the chain, literally sold up the chain. And then they'll get fake people to come in and buy Bitcoin, make the appearance as if there's a growing market, and hopefully that will spark some more interest and then drag in some greater fools, and then more greater fools, and then Bitcoin will make a resurgence, and then it will die, and they'll try it over again. They'll do this over and over and over until there's a spark or until there's a real application. That's what it's going to be like. That's going to be the Bitcoin winter. It's going to be cold. Then it's going to be hot. Then it's going to be cold. Then it's going to be warm. Then it's going to be cold. Then it's going to be wet and damp. It's going to be awful. There's going to be Bitcoin viruses, Bitcoin colds, Bitcoin hypothermia. Okay, Luke is suggesting a salacious clickbait title. I am up for salacious titles. I want nothing but, here going forward, salacious titles. Unbelievable, head-turning titles. Blood-curdling titles. And he suggests, the bottom is in. The whales are accumulating. That's not bad. Not bad. We can do better. Maybe that's like that's some of the initial, start to get them warmed up. Delta Digger, he says the only way that Bitcoin gets up to 20,000 again is if we get the fools back. No, we need new fools. The other fools, they've already been fooled. They could be fooled again, but we need new fools. There's lots of fools out there, by the way. Oh, but wait, it's not happening. Could they be fooled twice? That's what I said. Probably not possible, or it's less than likely. We can probably only fool the old fools, maybe 40% of them. And then we need new fools, and we can fool the hell out of them. Hayseed wants to talk about oil. Cheap oil crushes the banks. Heard $60 oil keeps the Kabuki theater going. What says Ernie? Nah, I think it might crush some banks, the banks that are financing the oil companies, because they're not getting paid. But in general, it's a good thing. And if people are making money, then the banks are making money. They'll figure out a way. But you got your wood stove making single-wide toasty today. I'm not sure what a single-wide toasty, I'm not familiar with that terminology. Mama told me to go buy low and sell high next year on firewood. So you think there's going to be a big freeze? We're moving into a Bitcoin winter and a real winter? A solar minimus? We are actually moving out of a long-term cycle where the solar energy is at a high, a maximus, and we're starting to just crest that and go down. And we could, and these cycles tend to last, full cycle, peak to peak, is about 200 years. And about 200 years ago, we had the last Bitcoin winter. Actually, it was in the, about 200 years ago. The early 1800s. There was there was a year without a summer. The River Thames in England, it froze over. And here in the States, there was no summer. It was cold. little mini ice age. But that happens on a regular basis, and we are now just peaking a warmer period, now going back into that winter. And it might take 20 years, something like that. I don't think it's a 200-year cycle. It's like a 260-year cycle. I don't know. Something like that. I have to look it up. Yep, good morning, y'all. Had fun on the stream yesterday. I appreciate the entertainment that you produce. Well, I appreciate that you appreciate it. And we're all appreciative. Flippo says it's his birthday today. As a request, can we make this stream extra savage? I was thinking about looking at some of the other videos that some of the pundits are putting out there, like, there's a whole bunch of them. And I started listening to some of them, and it's the same old crap. They all have their technical analysis that they fall back on. It's all bullshit. They're guessing. Everyone has their own personal bottom that they want to tag, and one of them is going to be right. $9.99. That's my bottom. $9.99. 99. 999. That's the Bitcoin bottom. 999. Go and tell your friends. Oop. Gotta pull this in a little bit so that we get maximum coverage. We don't want the winter leaking out of that corner up here, or up there. I need a drone so that I can do shit like this. You know, winter in the mountains certainly is beautiful, but quite frankly, I'd much rather be looking at a Caribbean beach. Much rather. Warm is better. All right. I have another friend who is a flat earther and a professional pool player. It's his birthday too. Some of you may know of him. His name is Max Eberly. He lives out in Las Vegas. I think I'm going to go visit Max early next year. Maybe play some pool out in Vegas. Make sure I don't bring any money with me. All right, let's see here. I'm going through the comments. I'm trying to be more selective on the comments, and I'm going to probably over time, once this channel starts growing little at a time, and there's going to be a point where the channel will start exploding, and then instead of getting like 70 people on here, we'll get 150, 200, 500, and it will get bigger. That's what happened with my old channel. You got to get beyond a certain point, a certain saturation point where you start attracting people. And when that happens, the comments are going to be flowing through, and I'm going to need somebody to assist me there. So right now I'm trying to, get into just spotting what are good comments. So Asdirt, he brings up volume profile. Well, thank you for that. Looks like 2500 looks promising, but I think it might go down to 1300. What he's pointing out are high volume nodes on the long-term Bitcoin volume profile. So if you put it on the daily or the weekly, you'll see that those levels that he just mentioned, or that I just mentioned, there are bumps like this. We call those high volume nodes, and those are areas where the market has found a great deal of value. They feel comfortable there, at least for some time, and so they've found that the supply-demand equation is kind of there's some equanimity there, and so volume picks up. You can look at those as kind of targets in your trading too. The big wells, those are areas where the market wants to avoid, doesn't like the wells. It's very deep and dark inside those wells, and so price gets rejected by those wells, or it zips across it like it's hot potatoes or fire coals. Let's see. Ernie, it won't go below 2013 bull run highs, so 957 won't happen. Well, I'm glad that you are so certain. And what do you base that on? That's what I'd like to know. Oh, where's Mr. Troll, Mr. Racist, Mr. Pedophile? Perhaps he doesn't get up this early. Ernie, have you heard? This is Flippo. He asks, Ernie, have you heard of decentral land? No, I haven't. No use case, simply based on virtual land. Users use coins to buy... Oh, I have heard of things like that, where they've created this whole virtual reality and you can buy land in this virtual space. I don't know if it's the same one, but there have been a number of those type of things. There was something like that a while back called Second Life. That's what it was. And then, Second Life, I was involved in Second Life for a little bit, and there was this really obtuse character that every once in a while that would pop in on your scene. And his name was Leroy Jenkins. I think that was his name. But it's probably like Second Life. You have these virtual worlds, you become a virtual avatar, you have your own virtual avatar. And you can interact with other people in the world, and they can take on their own real name or a new name. They bought property, they can build it up. There's a whole ecosystem within that world. That's because people can't take the real world. Well, eventually they're going to expand beyond the virtual world, and then they're going to go off into space and have other worlds. So the only people that are going to get involved in that are the people that can't take this world. They are outcasts. And so they go to the virtual world, and once they become outcasts there, then they'll look for other virtual worlds. It'll never end. Casanova, thank you very much. I do like this background. It's beautiful. I just don't like what it represents. It represents cold, and I hate cold. I'm pretty resilient to the cold. I mean, I can go out there with relatively sparse coverings and feel comfortable, but I don't like it. Abelbeck. I always have a problem with that. That's a tongue twister name. I missed the beginning. What's going on? Up or down? I'm sorry. It's a big secret. Big secret. The problem with Bitcoin in variance, says Casanova. You're missing a V there, I think. Maybe not. In variance is the mining. It can't function without mining, and the price per coin is almost lower than production costs. I don't believe that the production costs has anything to do with the price of the coin. And the mining, in my estimation, is a total scam. And I think someone else had mentioned this in another video. They also thought it was this geek nerd scam, and I agree with that 100%. There is absolutely no reason why you need miners to create some credible consensus. It can all be done mathematically with algorithms. In fact, that was one of the things that I liked about the hashgraph thing, that every phone was capable and could participate in the mining operation. You didn't need specialized hardware or sites, specialized nodes to do the mining. That is, in effect, a scam. And that really has been the most successful business in all of Bitcoin. And that is mining. It's a cottage industry. But there's really no reason for it. Well, you can invent a reason, but the reason is obtuse. It's just way over the top. You don't need it. You can get the same kind of statistical certainty in your consensus other ways that don't require vast mining fields or vast computing fields, warehouses full of computers and all that energy consumption. It's just not necessary. Todd Schultz says, I have tried watching you 3 times, have found 0 value in your videos. Unsub. Well, fuck you, Todd. See you later. I find 0 value in that comment. Only if you'd stayed around, then I could have beat up on you a little longer. Then maybe you would have found some value in these comments. There's always one in the crowd. Helioseismology. I have no idea what that is. You drinking again, Hayseed? Well, probably not, because that's way too long of a word. As a technologist, is it natural for technology to exist in a speculative stage where its price is unstable until a market and use cases are developed? Well, there are, many people believe that there are phases to technology. So the answer is yes. Also, as a technologist and as a scientist, or someone who believes in the scientific method, there is no ultimate truth. We're always in a perpetual state of building up hypotheses and trying to prove those hypotheses. And we never really, we have a proof out there, and we call those theorems or theories. But very rarely are they called proofs. Even things that have been deemed proofs in the real world have shown to break down over time with new hypotheses and new theorems. All right, so Alex Crypto TV is saying absolutely right, but I don't know what he's saying absolutely right to. Oh, we exited a solar maximum, the weakest max in centuries, lowest amount of sunspots. See, I do know what I'm talking about, kind of. 1859 Carrington event happened then too. Well, thank you for that. So I'm not just spouting bullshit. Mostly bullshit, but not all the time. If you talk about the sun too much, YouTube will probably put the hex on you. That's probably right. He's a denier! A climate denier! No, I don't deny that there's climate. There's climate all the time. I just deny that man is the principal source of the change in climate. It is the height of arrogance to think this. When we have this thing called the sun, which is 100 million times the size of the Earth, providing virtually all of the energy to the Earth. That's not necessarily true. Not all. I said almost all the energy. I would say virtually or almost all the energy. There is some energy being provided that is within our core, our molten core, that is emanating out, but that has virtually no effect on the climate. All the effect of the climate, well, and that's not entirely true either, because there is some seeping of methane gas that is a result of underlying lava flows and things like that that does have some effect on climate. So here, notice how I continue to hedge myself. But by and far, the number one reason for climate change is the sun. There's just no denying that. 1859, the Carrington event. I didn't know that was what it was called. Good stream, Ernie. I have to say, I am not only entertained, but I'm learning a lot, too. I try to slip in the learning stuff here and there. The Watcher. Jesus, Ern! I thought you had morphed into Cliff High, then talking about the solar minimum. No. I have little respect now for Cliff High. Well, I developed this lack of respect several months back. So we don't like to talk about Cliff High except for in a derogatory manner. And right now I haven't watched him that often in the last several months to talk about him derogatorily, so I won't. Although I do think that that he is a faker. I'm not going to come out and say that he's a total scammer. There's no doubt that he has some technical background, but the amount of that and the amount that has been attributed to him is grossly overstated. Grossly overstated. Cliff High ain't so high. He's like medium. Kinda. Almost medium. Luke, a salacious title number 2. Bitcoin will recover. Keep hodling. Yeah. Hodling. I wonder if hodling someday will become a swear word. Bitcoin will recover. Keep hodling. That's like the hopium thing. Hopium is alive in Bitcoin. Or Bitcoin hopium. Keep hodling. I like that one. I have a thought. Your Greeks suck. Bacillus. I don't get that one. You're missing like a participle or a comma or tense or plurality or something. You're missing something. Possessive. I don't know what you're saying. Anti-pyramid backwards. That would be Dimerarp. Addresses Flippo. Technology, whether it's cell phone, cars, or even a simple paperclip, goes to a stage called system maturity, wherein it went to its obsolescence. Yeah. Then he goes on, because that first sentence was total, that lacked really any substance. And when it loses its usefulness, follows the same price. Same thing with Bitcoin. The difference with Bitcoin is that people are still clueless on the blockchain tech. Thus, now he's like going off into a tangent. We learned nothing there, Mr. Backward Pyramid. Shitcoin can stay below the mining cost for too long. That would be TOO, not TO. Do I have to correct everyone's spelling too? Is that what I'm here for? I'm going to whip out the virtual ruler and slap your hand. Do I have any rulers in here? That's a good question. Fuck, no rulers. I'm going to have to get some rulers. I do, however, have something that's, I think, interesting. This here, some of you may know what this is. You see those really cool symbols? That there is a Masonic watch. It was my grandfather's. He was a Mason and a Shriner. Still works. It's old. Very old. All right, now we're going to get into the technicalities of Bitcoin. I don't think so, Mr. Flippo. How does mining difficulty adjust as miners drop out from mining? I understand the difficulty decreases, but is this via a change in the algorithm? No, I mean, the algorithm is what it is. The algorithm actually provides the change, or simply because there are less miners in total. So the algorithm adjusts the difficulty based on transactions and other shit. Organic mining, non-techno-fascists. Man. All these big words from Hayseed. Confusing me. Of course you don't need mining. XRP is a good example of not needing mining. But Bitcoin does need the mining from what I understand. Yes, it does. Because that's the way it works. Beans. I love this guy. Well, thank you very much. Love you too. I don't know how to pronounce your name, though. Epic Pure Vids. Now, there is a name. Always value from my prospective master calls. Always value from my prospective master call. My perspective. Always value for my perspective. Oh, okay. I see the period there now. Always value from my perspective. Master call. See, the reason why I didn't really pick up on that is because you didn't capitalize the beginning of the sentence with master. Oh, study of the sun, helioseismology. But you're not sure if that's how they spell it. I see. I get it. Booger's guy. Oh, he's replying to Asdirt, because all I saw was tofu is soy, soy boy. Today's meat, soy, salad, tofu, and more Bitcoin. I hate soy. My wife tries to pawn soy on me every once in a while. If you saw how soy was made, you would... soy curd. Or tofu. You wouldn't eat it. I mean, soybeans, that's one thing. You know, edamames, that sort of thing. Or even soy nuts, you know, the I guess freeze-dried nuts or roasted soy nuts. They're pretty good. I like them. But you eat too many of them and they give you tits. While calling you a climate denier. Let's see. I got to read both of these comments. They call you anti-science, but when you want to talk about the science, liberals can't. They espouse talking points about greenhouse gases while calling you a climate denier. See, the thing is, I have these arguments with people who have absolutely no scientific background, where I actually do have a scientific background. I started my career as a research scientist. And I was heavily involved in weather science for a while, actually, working on the NEXRAD, Next Generation Radar, which is the system that's used for weather radar across the country. So I do know quite a bit about weather, how it forms, how to measure it, etc. And even prior to that, my very first job was working for Raytheon as a research scientist working on laser-based inertial guidance systems for, basically for intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, and other things, and also heat-seeking missiles and stuff. And we needed to know quite a bit about weather and atmosphere, etc. So I do, in fact. And so when I talk to some of these liberals who think that they, and they always refer to these unnamed scientists that they talk about and then claim that I'm a climate denier because I don't know the science, when they have no fucking clue. it just makes me so angry. Cliff high is high? Maybe. And gold's still going down. Hit like and share. Well, thank you, Eris. No MAGA hat. I have the MAGA hat back there, but I've been advised not to wear it because even some of the people that like me, if I put the MAGA hat on, it will trigger them, and I don't want to trigger them. So, I mean, there are some rhinos out there that hate Trump. Some don't see the good, so I'm not gonna trigger anybody. If you want to trigger somebody, wear that MAGA hat anywhere outside where I live in Massachusetts. Like, go to downtown Boston. But I'm a kind of a hefty guy, stout, and usually people don't come up and challenge me. My spelling sucks. So does mine. Your daddy is in hell? Is that like a threat, or is that like an insult? It's like I did it with your mom last night or something? I don't know. Pablo, he asks, would you stick that watch in your ass if you had to protect in a war camp? I don't know how to answer that. The Pulp Fiction watch. Is that what it is? All right, so how much soy is in soybeans? I would imagine it's all soy because they are soybeans. That's right, it releases estrogen. Like I said, you eat enough soy and you grow tits. And tits aren't necessarily something that you want. I mean, if you look back to, what was it? Fight Club. Remember Bob? Bob was the big guy with the tits. Kind of an outcast. And Bob got killed. I don't know if it was because he had tits or not. I think he just took one of the Fight Club excursions a little bit too far. What is the most you have ever made on a trade? I don't think that really makes any difference to anybody. Because I've traded with large amounts of money that weren't my own, and I've drawn down as much as $2 or $3 million. I've drawn up as much as $5 or $6 million. So, but what does that mean? Like on an individual trade on my own, tens of thousands. Don't really keep track of it, to tell you the truth. What do I think of Cardano? Is that we don't normally talk about shit like that, only because it is so lame. Cardano. It's just another one of those useless platforms that will go nowhere. I think it's total bullshit. A lot of smart guys working on a lot of total bullshit. See, it's not the technology that's bullshit, it's the idea. They push out an idea as if it's already a solution for problems. So it's the solution looking for problems. And that's really the problem that I have with it. It's the same thing with EOS and any of the other platforms. The problem is that the problems aren't out there yet, or they're not realized, or the solution doesn't necessarily address it in the manner that is consistent with society and culture and business models. What percentage of climate change is related to human activity, in my opinion? That's a good question. I'd say less than 10%, maybe less than 5%. Probably something like that. Maybe even less than that. Hopefully that answers your question. Of course, now I am probably on the shit side of the fence with the person that asked that. Let's see, who asked that? We must find out who asked that. Is Netflix in a bubble? I don't know. What do I think of Cardano? You studied a lot of falsehood like the heliocentric model. I studied a lot of falsehoods like the heliocentric model. So ZZ Webb apparently is an expert. Guarantee you, I probably know a little bit more about it than you do. Maybe not. Pablo. Oh, it was Pablo that asked it. We'll remember your name, Pablo. Pablo Yambias. B-Trail, how are you going to ignore greenhouse emissions, carbon emissions? Laughing out loud, it's clear as day. No, it's not. That is such bullshit. And I don't want to turn this into a climate change thing. First of all, there is absolutely zero evidence. Zero. If you go back and look at the historical record, that high levels of carbon in the atmosphere preceded or caused a warming temperature. As a matter of fact, warming temperature trends virtually always happen prior to increases in carbon or carbon dioxide. Of course you don't believe scientists. I am a scientist. That's what brings me to these logical conclusions. Are you a creationalist? No. See, you'll probably, because you're undoubtedly left-leaning, will somehow turn my views into me being also a racist and a xenophobe. Climate always changes. The cycles of climate are way bigger than us. There have been many periods on Earth that have been way warmer than it is now. I mean, super warmer. With less carbon dioxide than we actually have today. That is a fact. How do you wrestle with that? Yeah, it is all about control, the Watcher. Absolutely. It's all about controlling people with a tax, the carbon tax. B-Trail, we had about 15% of normal rainfall in California the past 2 years as a result of climate change. We followed that with the 2 worst wildfires ever. Yeah, climate change is fake. I'm not saying climate change is fake. To say climate change is fake is just, that's idiotic. Of course the climate is changing. I do not disagree with that. I think that we have just passed one of the high points in solar activity over the past decade or two. And, look, 30 years ago they were talking about a new climate freeze coming. And they were trying to figure out how could we increase the Earth's temperature. I mean, that's what they were truly worried about. So I don't deny that the climate's changing. The climate is changing all the time. It goes in these maximum cycles, medium, and smaller cycles. So to say that I'm denying climate change, it's crazy. And why are we on this topic at all? Oh, because I put this thing behind me. Do you look for trend reversal? If yes, then what time frame should we look for, like daily or monthly? I like the longer time frames, daily, weekly, monthly. And I'll look for certain types of volumetric principles to ensue and patterns. So, like I said, if we have a tremendous amount of volume as price is coming down sharply and there's no advancement in price, or there's a lull in that advancement with an increase in volume, then there's a high likelihood that we will reverse. That's one of the primary volume patterns that you see in reversals. The banter meter is strong with the one. Strong is banter meter with the one. Mark Kendall also commented on Max Eberle's memory. Oh, sorry. That was just a notification on my phone. Take care, Fortis. Boogers guy, are you still buying Bitcoin below 3K, or have you lowered your starting point? I have actually lowered my starting point. And at first it was below 4K. Then I brought it down below 3K. And I think 3K is where I'm going to... It all depends on what happens here. If we start consolidating and then elongating this consolidation, we don't take another fast move down, then it will probably be below 3K. I'll start adding. But if we drop down to, say, 2,500, then I'm going to start looking at below 2,500 or below 2K. Perhaps this move down just isn't finished yet. Mike Kim, you can pay for flights and hotels with crypto now. Very, very, very few places. I don't know why that is a benefit to me. Can you tell me why is that a benefit to me? Why should I care? Ernie, disclose your net worth, you Scrooge. Why? That's just an... I could see blockchain being a solution to voter tracking. How are we in 2020 and still have voter fraud? Well, I contend that even blockchain will not stop voter fraud. Because, as I've said before, it's the interface between the blockchain and the human that is still the problem. That connection, which is an interface, which can be compromised. That is the problem. And as long as there are people between that interface, inside that interface, even blockchain will not solve the problem. It'll solve the problem of maybe changing the vote. But the vote, shit in, shit out. Do I see Bitcoin going above 6K in the next 12 months? No. It may briefly touch up there. I don't see it, though. Mike Kim, online sports betting relies heavily on crypto now. That's because for the longest time, U.S. citizens were denied online betting. They made it illegal. And so they found ways around that, and crypto was one of the few ways. They're starting to relax those laws, and so now we can now start getting more into. And as soon as we have full access and we can hand over our credit cards, the crypto angle in online betting will go away. Maybe. But, they'll probably keep it up there because they have the interfaces, they have the payment methodology, and it might attract more customers. Oh, so Alex Crypto, he is now confirming again something that I said. True that CO2 leads temps by 800 years on average. It falls behind it. Higher temps precede higher levels of CO2. And that's from the ice core data. So I think that you had it backwards there. And of course, B-Trail, laughing my ass off, such ignorance, who probably doesn't have a single iota of scientific training. And then laughing at people who have spent their entire lives as scientists. That is the hypocrisy. And that is the hypocrisy of the left. They do not believe in facts. They believe in dogma. Well, that's a good question. If we cause climate change, why are the other planets changing at the same time? because we're causing the climate change on the other planets. Don't you just know that? Do I think that the forests and oceans play a major role in regulating climate? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, algae in the ocean is one of the primary regulators. I mean, algae in the ocean is more responsible for oxygenating the atmosphere than the forests are. There's also, as I had mentioned earlier, methane gas that has been seeping up through the ocean floor, and that is one of the stronger greenhouse gases. CO2 is actually one of the weaker greenhouse gases. The strongest greenhouse gas is actually water vapor. And so the more cloud cover, the more warm the Earth is going to get. So it's actually CO2 has a relatively minor effect, and why we're concentrating on that is really a mystery. Let's see. In terms of your voter fraud comment, what if the user uploads their driver license ID, then just before voting, a face screen scans the voter's face and reconciles the ID on file? Well, if you can ensure that interface works, then that's fine. All right? I mean, that's pretty sophisticated technology. Of course, the Democrats will say, or the liberals will say, not the Democrats, but the liberals will say that that's racist because for some reason there will be people that do not have access to faces and IDs. Really, UK no betting sites are accepting crypto. Isn't that interesting? But they'll accept cash. I mean, and you can go to the corner store and bet in the UK. Bet on sports. So yeah, you like the scenery? I like it too. Rules on online betting are fuzzy. I use Bovada, and they say that their site is registered in Las Vegas. They do allow Bitcoin. I still use fiat, yet the checks come from China and other Far East countries. That's interesting. Really interesting. The Hot Crumbs. I have not seen you before, Mr. Hot Crumbs, or Ms. Hot Crumbs, or whatever you are, gender neutral, liquid, whatever that is. If global warming was legit, the banks wouldn't finance waterfront projects as sea levels wouldn't rise and destroy their investment. The banks know sea levels aren't going to rise. Well, they know they obviously, that if they really felt that the seas were going to rise, then why would they insure, not banks, but why would insurance companies insure properties, oceanfront properties, if they felt that within 10 years, 20 years, that they could end up having to pay off a claim? Why would they do that? Of course, let's see, I think that was a Dan Pena argument, and it makes sense. It's very logical. That's what the insurance companies are all about. They take the data in, and then they let that affect their actuary tables, and then they come up with some probability, and that's how they determine whether or not something is insurable or not. And of course, banks wouldn't allow or give a mortgage if a property wasn't insurable, because then they're taking a huge risk. Yet they do. Mike Humphreys, how you doing? Stratospheric aerosol injection is what Bitcoin needs to pump up its sunny climate again. Let's all release our aerosol cans at once. The catalyst for further crash. Bitcoin 51% vulnerability disclosed. So, in other words, if China shuts down Bitcoin activity, that could severely affect the entire world, and we could have a major... Actually, if they just shut it down and then allow it to continue inside the country and then turn it back on, then what do we have? We have the same thing, chains split off with one another with two different results. That is a vulnerability. But also the SEC crackdown on major cryptos, and that's going to continue and Tether collapse. Yeah. A major hack. All right. We are a little over 1 hour into this program, and that's when I turn into a pumpkin and I have to get going. I've got lots of stuff to do today. Got some super secret stuff to do that I may reveal sometime in the near future. Man, I'm just dying to talk about it. Oh, I like to think of myself as like the Chuck Barris of the Gong Show. You know, they claim that he claims, or someone claims that he was actually a CIA assassin. There might be something like that going on here, too. All right. So that's it. That's all I've got to say today. I'm looking for your super salacious clickbait titles. So I want you to put those into the comments section below. We need super salacious clickbait titles for future episodes. Please. And also, if you haven't done so already, go to that like button and click on it. Click on it only once. You click on it twice and then it's, goes away. Click on it once. Please. Really appreciate it, and share this video out there. You guys are the best. You guys are the best. So True Grit, I believe in keeping the earth clean, but it's up to all nations. If it's just the U.S., the drain, U.S. dry, forget it. First of all, I am an environmentalist. I live in the woods. I have over 5 acres of land that is surrounded completely by a wildlife sanctuary. You think that I don't care about the climate and my environment? I am super, super sensitive to it. I want clean water. My water comes from wells that are in the middle of this environmental haven. Our drinking water, is as clean as can be. I believe in conservatism. Conservatism is the way to a clean environment, not activism. Activism is nothing more than socialism, which is really nothing more than communism, which is nothing more than totalitarianism. Pablo says, I like you, Ernie. We disagree on so many things, but I am entertained with your opinions. That's fine, Pablo. And I can't, there was once a great man that said that the liberals are not ignorant. They're not dumb. They're not stupid people. It's just that they know so many things that aren't true. And this will trigger you. Ronald Reagan said that. With that, I am going to say goodbye. Goodbye for today. Love you all. Adios. 999!